Now, let's look in on an all too familiar situation, where one high school student's mistake regarding the use of her social media account had a domino effect on the entire school, leading to a complex investigation and a quest for the truth.
Chloe! Hey, Chloe. Is there a reason why everyone's staring at me? Do I have dirt on my face or something? Why didn't you answer my text this morning? You know how my mom is. I couldn't even turn the phone until I got to school. She always wants to talk. I think there's something you need to see. Look at your Instagram. What's your deal, Chloe? Is this some kind of joke? You know me. I would never say any of these things. I couldn't with a no phone rule in the car. Wait, you don't think I did this? Oh, no. I know you wouldn't. How could this have happened? You're the only one who knows my password. I might have told one or two people. What? But I can explain. Greg and LaTanya and I were at the library the other day, and we were trying to get onto one of the computers without using a library card. And I kind of made a joke that it'd be so much easier to get onto your computer because you use Whiskers123 as a password for everything. And we all had a good laugh about it. I mean, you're 16 and you still use your cat's name as a password. And that's when I realized I slipped. But they both promised they wouldn't tell anyone, and I didn't really think anything of it. Grace, you told me you wouldn't tell anyone. I know, I'm sorry. They promised. I trusted them. Look, this is something that's all gonna blow over in a week. I know it will. I gotta go. Are you okay? Yeah, I think I'll be fine. Alright, I'm really sorry all of this happened, and I'll help you get to the bottom of it.
Yo, Chloe! So, you're a real woman, huh? What? Too much sex makes you deaf? You're mute too? You know, you and Laurie have so much in common. You're both special.
Don't say that about Laurie.
She speaks. So answer me this. Am I the only guy you turned down in this school?
Shut up.
Chloe? Chloe, what's wrong? Okay. Get to class.
In this scene, Mrs. James walks with Chloe down the hall towards the principal's office. She consoles Chloe, asking her what happened. Mrs. James immediately indicates that she believes Chloe's version of the events that transpired in the hallway, as well as Chloe's version of the alleged hacking of her Instagram account. Now let's see what happens when Mrs. James brings Chloe into the principal's office with her to discuss the alleged incident.
Mrs. Martin, have a seat.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Bye.
There was a situation this morning that I witnessed, and when talking to the victim, I discovered it was an even bigger issue than I had initially thought. May I explain?
Go on.
Well, I was walking to my classroom this morning, and the students outside were very rowdy in the hallways over something. At one point, I passed a group of students who were clearly laughing at a fellow peer, Chloe Weber. When I arrived, they scattered, but when talking to Chloe, I got the full story. I can verify that Chloe's social media identity was stolen to cyberbully her, and I fully believe that Chloe is the real victim of this conflict.
Yes, Mrs. James, I'm already aware of the incident. Dozens of students have come down to guidance, as well as several parents have called my office. Chloe is accused of multiple offenses, including cyberbullying Laurie, bragging about being sexually active, specifically with Laurie's boyfriend, Aaron Lewis.
But I'm trying to tell you she didn't.
Please don't interrupt me, Mrs. James. Where was I? I'm told that Chloe was also making demeaning comments about sexual activity and about another student's learning disability. So I think I have a pretty clear understanding of what happened today. However, since you were with Chloe today, you do need to do a written statement to me within 2 school days. Today is Friday, so have it to me by Tuesday.
Sure. Thank you.
So clearly that didn't go well. Let's see how a different approach can be far more effective. In this scene, Mrs. James walks with Chloe down the hall towards the guidance office rather than the principal's office so she can speak to the principal alone. Mrs. Larson relays the alleged facts without prejudging whether Chloe is being truthful or not. Mrs. James takes the time to explain to Chloe the process and reassures Chloe that the principal will be fair throughout this process. Now let's see what happens differently when Mrs. James follows proper protocol when meeting with Principal Martin.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Bye.
Mrs. Martin, do you have a sec? This morning on my way to the classroom, there was a lot of commotion in the hallway. At one point, I walked past a group of students who seemed to be targeting one of their fellow peers, a junior, Chloe Weber.
Okay.
Someone had posted a note on Chloe's locker with the word easy and her photo. Chloe was really upset about this incident, so I walked her down to guidance.
Did she say anything to you when you were walking her?
She did. Chloe told me the password to her Instagram account had been stolen and some disgusting stuff, in her words, had been posted to her page. Apparently, other students had been mentioned, and that resulted in what occurred in school today. Chloe seemed really genuine when she was explaining this to me, so I assured her that we would resolve this issue. Chloe's currently writing a written statement.
Yes, I have heard about the incident. I've received multiple versions of what happened from concerned parents and students, but let's not jump to any conclusions. We need to gather some more information.
I agree.
Thank you so much for stepping in. I really appreciate you letting me know. I'm going to need to get a written statement from you as soon as possible. If you could get that to me today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. I will work on that immediately.
Thank you, Melissa. Have a good day.
Thank you.
So now let's consider the approach taken by Mrs. James when she comes across Chloe in the hallway, appearing very upset. In the improved version of this scenario, there is no prejudging of the incident by Mrs. James or the principal, but Mrs. James still demonstrates empathy for Chloe without prejudging, which is a very important approach given how upset Chloe was in that moment. Chloe is not present when the initial discussion takes place between the principal and the teacher in the improved version. This is very important so that the teacher is allowed to share everything she knows about the incident. Chloe has been asked immediately to do a written statement in the improved version. The principal asked Mrs. James to submit a written statement before the end of the day, preferable to having a delay of getting a written statement from a staff member, as we saw in the first version. In that first version, Chloe is in the office overhearing what should be a private conversation between two staff members. Mrs. James tells the principal in front of Chloe that she believes Chloe is innocent. That information could easily come back to haunt the district in the investigation. The principal tells Mrs. James that she already believes Chloe is guilty, once again prejudging on the other side, deciding that Chloe must have done what she's accused of. In the flawed version, the principal allows Mrs. James 2 additional school days to submit a written statement. While this may be permissible under law, it's preferable to try and get a written statement the very same day an incident occurs. This allows for a much more effective investigation. There should be a real sense of urgency to gather written statements as quickly as possible. In this scene, Mrs. Martin meets with the assistant principal, Mr. Larson, and the anti-bullying specialist, Mr. Nelson, in the main office. They begin to talk about strategies for interviewing all the students involved to help determine the truth regarding the incident in the hallway and the related allegations of cyberbullying. Taking the time to develop an action plan is a critical step for any effective investigation.
Please have a seat. Let me express how utterly disappointed I am in you. The post that you put on your Instagram was completely inappropriate.
I didn't post that. I was...
Don't interrupt me. The post that you uploaded on your Instagram was completely inappropriate. The comments you made were hurtful and may have lasting effects on students mentioned. What do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't me. I was with my mom.
Chloe, stop and think before you get yourself into more trouble. We have all the evidence we need right here.
So what's the point of me saying anything if you're not going to listen anyway?
So clearly that didn't go well either. Let's see how a different approach can be far more effective.
Hi, Chloe. This is Mr. Nelson. He's our anti-bullying specialist.
Hi. So it's my job as anti-bullying specialist to remain neutral during any investigation and to gather as much information as possible. So, could you tell us about the events of this morning?
Well, my mom drove my neighbor, Donna Stevens, and I to school, just like any other day. She was lecturing me about college for what feels like the millionth time, and she wouldn't stop talking until we got to school. That's where I noticed everybody staring at me.
Can I interrupt for a second and ask a question? Could you please describe the scene in the car on the way to school and use as much detail as possible?
Well, my mom was driving, I was in the front seat, and Donna was in the back seat. My mom was lecturing both of us about how important college is and how we should take time and plan carefully.
And where was your phone during this conversation?
Oh, it was in my back pocket. My mom has this thing where she doesn't let anyone use their phones in the car unless it's like super important. Apparently it's for us to have real conversations.
Can you think of anyone that might have a reason to be upset with you?
Hunter Blackwell asked me out and I said no. He seemed pretty mad about it, but I didn't tell anyone except for Grace, my best friend. I didn't want to embarrass him.
Okay, thanks, Chloe. I think we have all we need.
Thank you for your cooperation. We appreciate your help.
Of course.
So this interview by the assistant principal and the anti-bullying specialist with Chloe was much more effective. Let's compare the two approaches. In the flawed interview with Chloe, the assistant principal shows real anger. He's accusatory. He appears to be prejudging Chloe as guilty. Ultimately, seeing that the assistant principal has made up his mind, Chloe decides to simply shut down and not share critical information for the investigation. In the improved interview, the assistant principal and the anti-bullying specialist set a proper tone. They indicate to Chloe from the beginning that they're going to be fair and neutral. They ask her open-ended questions, giving her a chance to explain what really happened. Chloe is given the opportunity to describe the scene in her mother's car in detail. This is an important interview technique in order to corroborate whether or not the information being provided is truly accurate. Chloe is given the opportunity to identify other students who may have an improper motive.
Hi, Laurie. Please have a seat.
I am so sorry that Chloe did this to you. Can you think of any reason why she would say such hurtful things to you?
I have no idea. I thought we were friends. She's always been so nice to me.
Here are my notes from our meeting this morning. I typed them up to help you organize them because you were a bit emotional. Sign here, please. Thanks.
So we can all agree that that's not a good approach. Let's see what happens when we try a different, more effective approach.
Hello, Laurie. Feel free to take a seat. This is Mr. Nelson. He's our anti-bullying specialist. And this, as you know, is your case manager, Miss Jennifer Collins.
Hi, Laurie. You're not in here because you're in trouble. We want you to share what you know with us. You're in a safe environment and there is nothing to worry about.
And first of all, Laurie, we want to let you know that we're sorry that you're upset. But we're working very hard to get to the bottom of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've reviewed your written statement from this morning, but we just want to clarify a few things, okay?
Okay.
So can you tell us about this morning in your own words?
Well, I was on Instagram this morning and I saw that Chloe had been making these mean comments about me online. Everyone was talking about them. I don't know why she would do this.
Can you tell us specifically what you saw posted?
I can do better than that. Here they are. I can't believe she would say those mean things.
And can you describe the nature of your relationship with Chloe?
Sure. She was always so nice to me. I remember when I first started going here, she let me sit with her and her friends at lunch before I was able to make more friends of my own. And she was so happy for me when Aaron told me that he likes me. I don't know. I really thought we were friends. I don't know why she would go around saying this stuff about me or anyone else. Or do that to me or Aaron.
So now let's consider why the second version of the interview with Laurie was much more effective than the first version. In the first interview, there is no case manager present, even though Laurie has a disability. It's critical that a case manager be consulted whenever we're questioning a student with a disability. In the first interview, the interviewers show that they have prejudged who is responsible for the social media posts regarding Laurie. In the first interview, the anti-bullying specialist has decided to write up Laurie's statement without giving her the chance to write her own statement. That's a major mistake. For students who are capable of doing their own written statements, we should always give them that opportunity. In the second improved interview, we see a much better approach. There is a case manager present since Laurie has a disability. That's a critical step when we have a student with a disability so that interviewers fully understand how to best communicate with that student. The interviewers demonstrate empathy without any prejudgment. Laurie is allowed to do her own written statement. Laurie is given the chance to describe the nature of her relationship with Chloe, which is very important for the interviewers in order to fully understand why this incident may have occurred. Laurie ultimately willingly shares the social media post in question, showing the interviewers exactly what was said about her.
Hello, Grace. This is Mr. Nelson. He's our anti-bullying specialist.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Let's get down to business. We understand that you were involved with Chloe Weber this morning, right? And we have a couple of questions for you regarding that. So first of all, it's our understanding that Chloe gave you her password. So this leads us to believe that you could have been the one to hack Chloe's account. Why shouldn't we think that you were the one that embarrassed her?
What? Chloe's my best friend. I didn't do it.
Have you two had a fight recently? Maybe a falling out? It happens all the time.
No, we haven't had any issues. We've been best friends since kindergarten. I didn't do it.
Are you being honest when you say you don't have a problem with Chloe?
Yes, I'm telling the truth. I would never do that to her.
Well, if you didn't do it, you must have shared Chloe's password. Who did you give it to?
Will I get in trouble if I admit to sharing her password?
Yes, your words have caused a serious incident in school and cannot go without consequences.
Is this something you're gonna have to tell my mom about?
Yes, your mother has the right to know.
So you're admitting that you were the one that gave out Chloe's password? So you're admitting that you were the one that gave out Chloe's password?
Grace, are you going to cooperate with us or what? I suppose that will be all. Get back to class.
So this approach was wrong in so many ways. Let's look in on a more effective approach.
Hello, Grace. This is Mr. Nelson. He's our anti-bullying specialist.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Okay, so we have your written statement here, and we're just working to find the truth and make sure that this is all handled properly, okay? Now, tell me about your relationship with Chloe.
Well, we met in kindergarten, and we have a really strong relationship. Our families are really close too, and she's my best friend.
So tell me anything that you know about Chloe's social media and her passwords.
Will I get punished if I admit to sharing her password?
You'll be better off, and so will Chloe, if you just tell the truth. We understand. People make mistakes. We all do. But it's much better to take responsibility. Okay? So let's start out simple and just own up to what you know. Okay?
Okay. I do know her password. It's her cat's name. It's actually kind of cute.
Did you share Chloe's password with anyone? Now, before you answer, I want you to think this through. Okay? We all make mistakes. If you happen to share it with someone accidentally or for fun, we've all done those things. But what's really important is that you take responsibility and just come clean and tell us what you did.
Alright, I did share her password, but only with 2 other students. Greg Eaton and Latanya Adams, and they're friends with both me and Chloe. I trusted them.
Please explain how the conversation went. Give as much detail as possible.
Okay, so yesterday I was at the library with Greg and Latanya, and we were trying to get onto a computer without using a library card. And kind of made a joke that it'd be easier to get on to.
So now let's consider the approach taken in the improved interview with Grace compared to the first version of that interview. Remember, Grace knows that she did something wrong. She knows that she had Chloe's password and she decided to share it with 2 friends. She's fearful about the impact of her bad decision. So now let's look at how the assistant principal addresses the issue in both interviews. In the flawed interview with Grace, the assistant principal is once again accusatory. He appears to prejudge that Grace stole Chloe's identity. He also says that even if Grace didn't steal Chloe's identity and make the improper social media post, that she's still in a great deal of trouble for having shared Chloe's password. By exacerbating Grace's fear, Grace decides to now shut down. In the improved interview, Grace is allowed to describe the nature of her relationship with Chloe. The interviewers show understanding, which is a critical step, without condoning the mistake that was made by Grace. Oftentimes, students will make mistakes, and it's important that interviewers are able to indicate that they understand why these mistakes might be made, even without condoning the behavior. This approach allows Grace to voluntarily acknowledge the mistake that she has made in sharing Chloe's password. Because she is Chloe's friend, she wants to help. This gives her the opening to cooperate in the investigation and share critical information that will be very helpful. In the improved conversation, Grace is asked to describe in detail the conversation she had with Chloe regarding her password. By having that detailed conversation, the interviewers are in a much better position to assess the credibility of the information being provided by Grace.
Hello, Donna. This is Mr. Nelson. He's our anti-bullying specialist.
Hi, Donna. A couple of questions for you. So let's see. I understand that you drove to school with Chloe, and we've read the statement that you wrote down for us. Can you please describe what happened?
Of course. Well, Chloe's mom was her usual self, always talking about the future. She's really nice, but she's always talking about the future. She was grilling Chloe about her college plans. The conversation only ended because we arrived at school.
Okay, so on the ride to school today, did Chloe use her phone at all?
Definitely not. Chloe just keeps her phone in her back pocket while she's in the car because her mom has this no phone rule. She's really adamant about it.
Okay. If you're okay, I think we're fine here, Donna. Thank you very much.
Get back to class. Have a good day.
Thanks.
You know, her story corresponds with Chloe's.
Yeah, I just talked to Miss Martin, and she's talked to Mom and verified it.
Good.
The interview that you have just witnessed with Donna is important to the investigation because Donna was in the car with Chloe and her mother at the time the Instagram post in question was made. The interviewers do not simply ask Donna whether or not she saw Chloe posting to social media at the time. Instead, they asked Donna to describe the conversation that was taking place in her mother's car at that time. They further asked Donna to describe the scene in the car and where Chloe's phone was during the car ride. This is important since it allows the interviewers to verify the details of Chloe's account and her mother's account. If Donna was not being truthful and was simply trying to back up her friend's story, she may not be ready with this level of detail, thereby revealing inconsistencies regarding the content of the conversation or the physical scene in the car. Instead, we see Donna corroborating the account given by Chloe, and we learn this is also consistent with the account given by Chloe's mother.
Tanya, this is Mr. Nelson. He is our anti-bullying specialist.
Hi, LaTanya. So as the anti-bullying specialist, it's basically my job to make sure that everything's handled properly, to make sure that I remain neutral, and to gather information about whatever happened. So could you tell me, as I look at your written statement here, what exactly happened in your own words?
Grace, Doyle, Greggy, and I were hanging out at the library yesterday. We invited Chloe, but she had an honor society meeting, so she couldn't join us. We were working on this group project, so we wanted to access the computers, but none of us had our library cards, so We just started joking around and guessing random numbers when Grace made a joke about how Chloe's password for everything, something really simple. I didn't know she used her cat's name as her password, but I'm really close with Chloe, and I wouldn't tell anyone, and Greg said the same thing.
So Chloe's password. Did you tell anyone else about it?
No, I'm close with Chloe, and I thought the password was cute, but if anyone else knew, they might try and mess with her.
So do you think that Greg could have told anyone else?
He didn't say anything about doing that.
So explain exactly what you saw today.
I was checking Instagram this morning, around 7:05, 7:10 maybe, and Chloe made all these really weird posts, and I mean, really weird. It wasn't like her at all. She even said some stuff about Laurie, which was strange because Chloe's the whole reason our friends talk to her. I honestly feel bad for both of them. I don't know what Chloe was thinking when she posted that, but everyone's talking about it now. It's crazy.
Are you aware of anyone that might want to hurt or embarrass Chloe?
I don't know. Chloe's pretty nice to everyone. Greg did tell me that Chloe rejected Hunter Blackwell after Hunter asked her out, but no one knows about that. I only know because I'm close with Greg, and Greg and Hunter are close, so that's the only person I could think of.
Okay, LaTanya, if you're okay with it, I think you're free to go.
Hope I could have helped.
Great to LaTanya.
The interview you have just witnessed with LaTanya is also very important, since LaTanya is one of 2 students who Grace allegedly shared Chloe's password with. Therefore, it's very important to determine what role, if any, she may have played in this incident. Viewers should note that LaTanya is very cooperative in her interview. She does not become defensive in any way and does not try to shift attention to someone else. She describes the conversation in the library in a manner that's consistent with Grace's account. She denies having shared Grace's password and shows recognition of how much harm divulging the password could cause. In short, she exhibits no signs of being deceptive. She further goes on to provide a useful tip about Hunter having been turned down by Chloe and the connection between Greg and Hunter.
Greg, this is Mr. Nelson. He is our anti-bullying specialist as well as one of our guidance counselors. He is here to investigate any allegations of bullying as well as trying to keep a safe school environment for all students.
Hey, Greg. So we're aware that there was an incident involving Chloe Weber's social media page. We're also aware that several students have access to her account. Do you know Chloe's password?
Chloe Weber for Instagram, why?
Well, we're just trying to determine what happened here. And we're sure that you want to tell us the truth, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't I want to tell the truth?
Good. Because we have lots of information already from a lot of different students. And we want to make sure and find out what you know. So tell me, do you have Chloe's password?
Yeah, but so does LaTanya. Grace told it to us a couple weeks ago at the library. We were making some jokes about it.
Did you pass this information off to anyone else?
Why are you accusing me? I haven't gotten in any trouble. Why aren't you asking LaTanya?
We're doing a thorough investigation, Greg. We'll be talking to a lot of people. Right now we're talking to you. So answer the question honestly.
Well, I might have told it to Hunter Blackwell.
Might have?
Yeah, well, alright, I did. You see, he was trying to get with Chloe a couple weeks ago, but she rejected him. He still talks to me about it sometimes because I'm friends with her. That, and he's really mad she turned him down. I think she's the first girl to say no to him. Anyway, I was talking to him on the phone last night, and he still sounded bitter about the whole Chloe thing, so I told him what happened at the library, hoping that might cheer him up. You know, like a girl who has her password as her cat's name is not in your league type of thing, you know? That's it. No one else.
What did you think that Hunter would do with this information?
That's his business, not mine.
But you're Hunter's friend, and you wanted him to know that you had his back, right?
I guess.
So there was a chance that you knew he would use this information against Chloe.
Yeah, maybe.
So there was a chance you could have given him information that he could have used against Chloe.
I guess I knew there was a chance.
Now, did Hunter mention anything about using this password for any reason or possibly spreading it to other people?
I don't know if he did anything with the password. All I know is he was in a pretty crappy mood after I hung up.
All right, thank you, Greg.
See you, Mr. Larson.
That's where it started.
Yep.
Let's consider what we have just seen in the interview with Greg. Greg is the only other student with whom Grace says she shared Chloe's password. Viewers should quickly recognize the stark differences between Greg's approach to being questioned and the approach taken by LaTanya. Unlike LaTanya, Greg demonstrates several signs of deception. He repeats the first question that he is asked rather than answering the question. This technique is often used by a target who wishes to buy more time, even a few seconds, in order to try and formulate an answer that will keep him out of trouble. Greg also becomes defensive and tries to shift attention, asking why the interviewers aren't questioning LaTanya. Greg also tries to bolster his own credibility by noting that he hasn't previously gotten into trouble. The interviewers quickly sense Greg's reluctance to be forthcoming and decide to establish a clear expectation, stating that they are sure Greg wants to tell the truth. This can be an effective strategy to put the interview target on notice that he will not be able to easily evade sharing the truth. Greg's decision to come clean and share what he knows and his role does not happen in one fell swoop. Instead, it comes gradually. It is important for interviewers to be patient when this type of gradual acknowledgement process starts. In this case, Greg admits he might have shared Chloe's password with his friend Hunter. The interviewers do not allow that comment to pass, and instead press Greg to acknowledge that he in fact did share the password with Hunter. Greg effectively shares both Hunter's motive for wanting to do harm to Chloe and Greg's own motive for relaying Chloe's password. He notes how upset Hunter was that Chloe had turned him down for a date. He also admits, albeit reluctantly, that he wanted Hunter to know that he was his friend and had his back. Importantly, Greg is not allowed to leave unchallenged his claim that he did not know what would happen after he shared Chloe's password with Hunter, and that he only did so to show Chloe was not in Hunter's league. Greg initially says that's his business when asked what he thought Hunter would do with Chloe's password. However, Greg acknowledges when pressed that he knew there was a chance that this information would be used by Hunter to cause harm to Chloe. This line of questioning shows the importance of the interviewers not simply being passive note-takers. When the student gives an explanation that's not credible on its face, the interviewer should probe further. By asking if Greg knew there was a chance that something negative would occur, Greg is given a soft landing to acknowledge that he knew sharing the password was wrong and could be harmful.
Hunter, I'd like to introduce you to our anti-bullying specialist.
So my job as anti-bullying specialist is basically to remain neutral during any potential bullying situation and also gather as much information as possible. So why don't you take me through the events of this morning? Start when you woke up.
Okay. So, I woke up, took a shower, got dressed, went downstairs to get breakfast. I wanted cereal, but my dad already brewed a cup of coffee, and I don't like eating cereal after drinking coffee, so I got oatmeal instead. I left the house at about 7:05. Greg picked me up, drove us to school, so I was there by like 7:20, 7:25 maybe. And then I went to class and hung out until first period ended at 7:40. That's it. All you need to know. Am I good to go?
Not yet.
Who did you talk to this morning?
Just a couple of friends. Why? Did somebody say something?
We want the truth, Hunter. Remember, we have cameras in school, and we could verify who you talked to before you went to class. You have nothing on your statement about talking to Chloe.
Well, actually, I met the guys at my locker, and we were talking about normal stuff when Chloe passed by. I made a couple of jokes to her about her Instagram post this morning. I was only joking.
In addition to the cameras, there were plenty of students in the hallway when you talked to Chloe. So you want to be as detailed as possible. Now think carefully.
Well, we all joke around sometimes, right?
Hi. Students often say things that they think are funny. Is it possible that you said something to Chloe that you thought was funny and she might not have?
You got it. You're right. I thought it was funny. I didn't mean anything by it.
But what did you say? Remember, we have a lot of witnesses.
Why don't you tell me what you heard first?
It doesn't work that way, Hunter. We want to hear it from you. It's a big deal. What matters is if you own up to it, if you made a mistake, right? We all make mistakes. It's a big deal about how you deal with it.
I kind of said something about her being a woman. I also might have joked about her being deaf because of too much sex or something like that. I also said something about how she doesn't turn down anyone else in the school.
You recently asked Chloe out, didn't you?
Did Chloe tell you that? I knew it. She thinks she's so much better than everyone else.
I know how tough it is to put yourself out there and to get turned down. I've been there. I mean, it's understandable you were mad. I mean, you were upset, weren't you?
Guess.
Now, we have good information that you know Chloe's password. Now, if you decided to play a joke on her or post something that you thought was funny, we'd understand.
No one else would understand. Parents sure wouldn't.
We will explain the whole situation. We will also explain to your parents how you owned up to it. That's a big deal. It shows real maturity.
Yeah. But if I did all of this, I'm in big trouble, aren't I?
Hunter, we have a lot of information here, but it is definitely better if you cooperate. And we'll make sure that your parents and the principal know that you did.
I didn't mean for it to get out of hand like this. I wanted to play a little joke on Chloe. I asked her out last week, but she said no. But it was the way that she said no. She was so nice about it. But I could tell that it was sarcastic. I wanted to make her feel as bad as she made me feel, so I got her password from Greg. I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal.
The final interview we see is with Hunter. As we will discuss, Hunter has given us the final pieces in this puzzle. Since Hunter has become the primary suspect in this case, it makes sense that he would be the last one interviewed, after the interviewers have as much information as possible from the alleged victims and witnesses. Hunter immediately uses a classic deception technique when he tries to answer the first interview question by talking about a string of irrelevant issues, including a detailed review of what he had for breakfast. He ends his opening comments with two more telltale signs of deception. At the end of his initial remarks, he says, "That's all you need to know," which clearly implies he is withholding information. He also folds his arms, a common sign of defensiveness and deception. However, even in his misleading initial comments, he provides useful information. He reveals that Greg is the one who picked him up that morning, and that he was the passenger in Greg's car at the time the Instagram post in question was made. This shows that he had clear opportunity to make the post and was in the vehicle with his apparent accomplice, Greg, at the time of the key posting. Hunter attempts to employ common tactics that are indicative of deception. He tries asking the interviewers questions rather than answering questions. He later challenges the interviewers to share what they already know, rather than confessing to his own actions. Hunter uses another common defense to justify his comments to Chloe in the hall, saying, "I was only joking." The interviewers are undeterred, confident in their investigation. Having gathered relevant information in advance, they are able to press Hunter when he is not being forthcoming. They are able to point to the cameras in the school when Hunter fails to admit he spoke to Chloe in school that morning. They are able to point to the many potential student witnesses in the hallway when Hunter is reluctant to admit the hurtful things he said to Chloe. As we discuss in more detail in a moment, they are eventually able to get Hunter to admit that he was not merely joking, and in fact understood the harmful effects of his actions. Prior to confessing, Hunter expresses concern that no one will understand if he admits wrongdoing, and expresses concern about how serious the consequences will be for him. The interviewers address these issues head-on and effectively. They are able to express understanding as to why Hunter may have felt hurt when he was turned down by Chloe, and may have wanted to cause Chloe harm, without in any way condoning Hunter's actions. They promise to share with the principal and with Hunter's parents his willingness to take responsibility for his actions and the maturity that this shows. As we saw with Greg, Hunter does not immediately give a full confession, but instead it happens gradually. As Hunter begins admitting to what he did, he shares pieces of information reluctantly. The interviewers employ silence, which is an important technique. They know Hunter has more to say, and more importantly, Hunter knows this as well. By being patient and allowing for momentary silences, Hunter feels compelled to keep talking and eventually confesses fully.